Stone, thank you for being here. I want to ask you first and foremost, busy week on Capitol Hill, the investigation's continuing. Have you had any contact with the Senate Intelligence Committee or their counterparts in the House?
The answer is yes. I have. First, I was contacted by the Senate Intelligence Committee with a series of requests for documents with which I will fully comply. And then yesterday, or the day before yesterday, my lawyers received a letter from the House Committee asking again for specific documents with a deadline, I believe, of May 22nd, documents pertaining to specific subjects. And then
which subjects?
Well, have you any contact with the Russian state, any attack with Russian companies, any contact with any real estate you may have owned in Russia? That would be none.
Have you had contact with Russian?
None whatsoever. None.
No businesses?
None whatsoever.
None in the Ukraine?
No, Ukraine is not Russia. Get a map.
Of course, but have you had any contact with any folks in the Ukraine?
Not since 2007.
Okay.
So, as you know, I have made it clear to both committees that I am anxious to testify.
Will you
that
meet with them behind closed doors, though?
I would decline probably to do that.
Why? Why not just meet with them?
Because then they will mischaracterize what you say behind closed doors. As a journalist, I would think you'd understand the value of transparency.
But would you meet with them first behind closed doors and then meet with them in public?
In other words, so let them develop a game plan based on what you're going to say. This is politics, remember. Sure. From the Latin word, poly, many, ticks, bloodsuckers. So I don't want to play any games here. I've been maligned in public. They didn't have closed sessions when Senator Feinstein, Senator Warner, Senator Franken misrepresented the facts. They maligned me in public. They defamed me, in my opinion, in public. I should have the opportunity to respond in public. That's only fair. That's the American way.
Do you have confidence in the Republican leadership of both of these committees?
Frankly, I think they should be more aggressive. Where's Susan Rice? Why has she not yet been subpoenaed? Where's Valerie Jarrett? I'd like to know about the unmasking of surveillance information. I'd like to know if there was a FISA warrant levied on me to access my email and my phone calls, because if there is, I would like to know the probable cause.
Do you think that you've been wiretapped?
Yes, I do. Based on a New York Times story of January 20th, page 1, wiretapped data used in probe of Trump aides, which says so. I think the New York Times is correct in this report.
Has the FBI interviewed you yet?
They have not.
Has the FBI requested documents from you?
They have not.
The message, Mr. Stone, that we have heard from President Trump versus the message coming out of the West Wing are two very different things. Why is that the case?
I actually don't see the broad inconsistency. I think he made a decision after May 3rd, after the hearing, that he was going to fire Mr. Comey. His lawyers provided him the legal justification. I think it probably solidified his decision. I really don't see a huge discrepancy.
Roger, you talk to folks inside the office, inside the West Wing. How's the morale right now in the White House?
In all truth, I don't speak to folks inside the West Wing with the exception of one person, so I can't really answer your question.
Are these reports of confusion and disgruntled, is it accurate? Is there mass confusion?
I always thought that there was danger in hiring people for the White House staff who did not support Donald Trump for president, did not vote for him in some cases, don't share his policy views on immigration or trade or tax relief and so on. You hire establishment Republicans, then you can't be surprised when your White House leaks or when there is backbiting. A White House staff is really just like a presidential campaign. Everybody must be pulling in the same direction, and there must be one leader. Bob Haldeman, Hamilton Jordan, Andy Card, none of these men would have put up with what has happened in this White House staff.
You've got a new Netflix documentary coming out. It's called Get Me, Roger Stone. Why continue, Roger, to go through this? Why open yourself up to all of this?
Well, I think I'm pretty well known at this point. Were you suggesting that I should retire? I'm not the one who said, "Get me, Roger Stone." That was James A. Baker III during the Bush recount, which was memorialized in the HBO film Recount. Look, I am a political warrior. I enjoy it. I do it with joy. I fight from my ideological and philosophical point of view. Politics ain't beanbag. This is a contact sport in America.
It is. The broader question about all of this talk about Russia, about the Ukraine, about communications.
Yes.
Americans are accustomed to corporations and businesses and business groups lobbying politicians.
Yes.
They are not accustomed to foreign governments lobbying politicians and trying to influence policy in an election.
Well, only because they don't know about it. The Russians went to Lyndon Johnson and offered to finance Hubert Humphrey's campaign for president in 1960.
My question is, should it be illegal for such action to take place?
Well, it is illegal. It actually is illegal. However, I take the position that the entire Russian narrative was invented by John Podesta, who made the initial charges, to distract from the fact that he and his brother Tony and Bill and Hillary have made millions of dollars through their associations with the Russian oligarchs around Putin. So what better way than to accuse Donald Trump? Kevin, this is a scandal without any evidence, not an iota, not a shred. Show us the beef. In other words, the New York Times said on the 20th that the intelligence services say they have emails, they have financial records, and they have transcripts of phone intercepts. Let's see them. Where are they? They've produced nothing.
There's been a lot of talk on Twitter coming in earlier today from President Trump himself. He's tweeted about you earlier, not today, several days ago. How often do you communicate with the president?
From time to time.
But when was the last time you communicated?
Well, look, I have, throughout the entire campaign and since he's been president, I have never been willing to characterize the content or the scope or the frequency of my conversations with the president. They're occasional. I don't talk to him every day because I know if I do, these conversations will end. He has a reasonable expectation of confidentiality. Now, the stories that said I recommended the firing of James Comey, I'm not quoted in any of those stories. I am not the source of those stories, and I have never made any such claim. But it would be impossible not to know my views on this. I have written about it. I have sent memos about it. I have done videos on it.
Who should be the new FBI director? Trey Gowdy's Representative Trey Gowdy is the name we're hearing.
That would be an excellent choice.
Is that your choice?
I would like to see a woman in that job, to tell you the truth. Maybe Judge Jeanine Pirro, former judge, former prosecutor.
What about, I want to ask you about this. There's been some talk about whether or not the base is still united with President Trump on a host of issues. Polling suggests that they are. But I want to ask you, did he make the right decision in targeting Syria and bombing Syria?
He made the right decision in making it a limited surgical strike and then not sending 150,000 ground troops, as Generals Mattis and McMaster recommended. He is still an anti-interventionist president. I would argue that the Syrian strike may have been irresistible from a geopolitical point of view because of the message it sent the North Koreans, the Iranians, the Chinese, that there's a new sheriff in town. And no longer will the president draw a line in the sand and then sit back helplessly while our adversaries cross that line.
Roger.